بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين ثم لتسألن يومئذ عن النعيم.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Today we are studying Surah At-Takathur. Of course, we said before in this session, today's session, we are going to be looking at Surah At-Takathur. And Surah At-Takathur, of course, we all know it's a Makki Surah. Okay, even though there is a good small group of scholars who say it's a Madan Surah, but as we said earlier before, from all the way from Surah Al-Mulk to Surah Al-Nas, you see they are all Makki Surahs. Okay, and so Surah At-Takathur here, let's begin the surah by saying that Al-Hakum At-Takathur. Al-Ha yulhi is the verb, and the masdar is ilha. And so the noun is lahun, which means entertainment. So Al-Ha yulhi, it means for something to distract you from something that is very, very important. That is Al-Ha. Al-Ha yulhi. It means for something, one thing to distract you. That's the sulasi mazid. Okay, for something to distract you from something that is very, very important, something that you were supposed to be doing, but something is distracting you from it. That is Al-Ha. And so from it we have Lahun, which means entertainment. And literally that's what entertainment does. Entertainment is something, you do it, and that time you could have used it for something very productive. I don't know whether you get me. So that is Al-Ha here. Al-Ha yulhi. And so we are going to be seeing what Allah says Al-Hakum. We saw some similar thing in Surah Al-Munafiqun. If you can remember, Allah says, La tulhikum amwalukum wala awladukum an zikrillah. Don't let your wealth and your children delude you from the remembrance of Allah. La tulhikum amwalukum wala awladukum an zikrillah. And in that context, Allah mentioned children and wealth specifically. Allah says, don't let it pull you away, or don't let it distract you from the remembrance of Allah. So you can see, children and wealth is not as important as the remembrance of Allah in that context. So Allah means something less important is distracting you from something very, very important. That is the verb. Allah, that's where the word comes from. Allah. Now At-Takathur. Allah says, Al-Hakum At-Takathur. At-Takathur deludes you or distract you. So At-Takathur here, let's look at At-Takathur. At-Takathur is actually from Kathra, which means plenty. Okay, plenty. Kathra means plenty. So Takathara Yatakatharu, it means, it's actually, when verbs come on that pattern, tafa'ul, it comes with three things tied to it. So one is desire to get a lot. So if I say takathara, he desired to get more. Like there's desire to get a lot. And that's actual kathara, plenty. Someone so takathara, someone wishing to get plenty. So let's say, of course, you have a job, but you desire that, no, I want to, you are looking at a particular friend who has another job that is well paying than yours, then you say, I want it. But after you get it, you say, no, I want another one. Then after you get it, you think of another one. You always be thinking like that. So that is takathara, to want more, to want more. You see, sometimes you just say, I want a home to live. But immediately you get a home to live, you now start thinking, we need a swimming pool here. Things that were want, you saw them to be want. At this time, you now see them to be needs. So you see, we need a swimming pool in this house. I need an additional car. I need an additional mansion. So all these things, that is takathara, to want more. Then the second thing that we can derive from that pattern of verbs, that is tafa'ala, is competing with one another. There is competition in it. Of course, it's not one person. If one verbs come on that pattern, tafa'ala, it means there's competition. The person is doing it with another person, another people. So that is takathara. It means he's competing with other people. Okay, in simplicity, he looks at other people and he wants to get more. So in that context, he's comparing. There's comparison. He compares himself to others and he desires to get what others have that he doesn't have. So that is takathara here. That is another thing that we are just driving from it. There's competition with other people to get more and more and more. Then the third thing that we are deriving from it is that there's tafakhur. Actually, it's something Imam Razi, he says that وَعْلَمْ أَنَّ التَّفَاخُرْ وَالتَّكَاثُرْ شَيْءٌ وَاحِدٌ بمعنى التكاثر مع التفاخر. التكاثر, it always goes with tafakhur, and tafakhur is actually to boast with it. Of course, no one gathers a lot of things to just be content. People, that's the nature. They want others to see. You know, sometimes we are speaking with a friend, just come and see everyone and tell you, by the way, do you know this big mansion standing there? I am for it. You know that the very nice car standing there, I am for it. Who asks you? Who asks you? No one asks. And so the pride, as far as he has it, he wants people to know. There are sometimes people, so even this happens with people, people of knowledge. Someone will study and then he says that, you know, by the name, don't write my name like that. Add professor to it. You know, I'm a professor. He wants everybody to know. And so that there is tafakhur in it. Anytime people are competing, that's what Imam Razi is saying. Anytime people are competing, there's for tafakhur. They are doing it out of boastfulness. They want to boast, to express their ego, you know. And so that's the three things that we are deriving from it. So meaning, desire to get a lot, competition with one another, rivalry, and tafakhur, boasting with one another. It deludes you. That's what Allah is saying. It deludes you from what? That's a very big question. That's a very nice question Allah has put here. So, meaning that Allah has ignored something, and that thing that is being ignored is what does it delude you from? You see, it has not been mentioned in other places like Surah Munafiqun. La tulhikum amwalukum wala awladukum an zikrillah, from the remembrance of Allah. But here, Allah doesn't mention anything. Allah doesn't mention an kaza or kaza, an zikrillah or something. Allah says competition and wanting to get more and more and more, it deludes you. From what? The statement is left open. So let's look at something here. Meaning that, but before we come to that, let's return back to Surah Al-Munafiqun, that ayah. If you look at that ayah in Surah Al-Munafiqun, what we are learning from it is that amwalukum wa awladukum, your wealth and your children, actually they were supposed to be a means that will bring you close to Allah. Why will you give birth to children? Of course, anything that you did in this world, you will be asked, we will be questioned for that. And so it could be, what we are learning is that those things, they could be a way that you could, it could add to the remembrance of Allah. It could be a way to remember Allah. So Allah is trying to rewind connection to with that surah, that ayah in Surah Al-Munafiqun. Allah is trying to rewire our understanding, rewire our thinking, that what we are competing in, the man, children, be it wealth, it could have been a means by which we could get close to Allah. So it's not necessarily having it which is evil. Of course, Allah didn't say amwalukum wa awladukum shar. Allah didn't say your wealth and your children are evil. No. But Allah says la tulhikum, meaning it is potential to be evil. It depends on how you view it. If you view it as something you can use to boast among people, and something you can use to compete with others, and something you can use to you desire to get a lot of it, such that it prevents you from the remembrance of Allah, that's where the ilha comes, distraction comes. And so now let's come back to the an aspect where Allah hasn't mentioned anything yet. Allah hasn't mentioned what is it distracting you from. What we know is that let's mention some few things that have been mentioned by famous scholars. The first one is like Sheikh Usaymin says that kullu shay'in yuqarribuka ila Allah. Anything that brings you close to Allah. Anything that brings you close to Allah. Bimana, don't let Allah is saying that al-hakumut takasu, competition and wanting to get more and more and more. Your education, you are so much engulfed in education, pursuing a lot of things, and with that, I mean, you don't have Allah in your equation, and you run after wealth, you want to get so much money, and Allah is not in your equation. You want to, maybe you are running after a beautiful woman to marry, you are running after what? You are running after position, you are running after wealth, you are running after what? Whatever be, you are running after kingship, whatever you are running after, Allah says, At-Takathur, Al-Hakum At-Takathur. It has already deluded you. The verb, the thing you need is that this verb is in the past tense. It's not in the present. It's not in the present tense, meaning it will. Allah, if it were to be present tense, it could have mean it will or it may. But Allah didn't even use that. Allah used a past tense, meaning it has already deluded you. Meaning Allah is telling us that we all have a wrong perception. So Al-Hakumu At-Takathur. The first, as I said, there is one thing, a remembrance of Allah. And zikrillah, that's of course what we have seen in Surah Al-Munafiqun. And so there are some people, you can't tell him, let's go for wa'az. Okay, there's a wa'az here, an Islamic admonishment, Islamic preaching. Let's go there and listen. This person will say, I don't have time, I'm very busy. Allah is saying that your business, that thing that is making you busy, Allah says is in her, it's a distraction. You don't really understand what you are running away from. A very important meeting with someone. Allah is saying those meeting, it is a distraction. It's a distraction. So there are some people, they don't want to see anything about the remembrance of Allah. Anything, let's say you are then you come and you are talking about Quran, you say, or you are playing something from, an Islamic something, you say, what, a little bit, excuse us more. We don't want to hear that now. Why is it that anytime you are playing, you are talking about Islamic substance, you are Islamic things. Subhanallah. Allah says, what you think you are busy with, that in itself is leading to your distraction. That in itself is leading to your distraction. It's it's an ilha. It's a distraction. The second thing is actually ponderance. Another thing scholars mention is pondering and looking within yourself. Okay, al-muhasaba, judging yourself. Sometimes you need to sit down, like we the famous saying, hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu. You have to sit sometimes and then judge yourself. What am I doing with my life? How far? What am I running after in life? What I am running after in life, I've spent so much years doing so and so, maybe going to school, why am I even doing that? Are you sit down to ask yourself? So Allah is saying, At-Takathur, desire to get more positions, more certificates, more wealth. Running after whatever. They are distracting you from pondering over yourself, from thinking, looking into yourself and saying, what am I doing with my life? Why am I consuming all these stuffs? Why am I doing this and that? So people just have I don't want to even think about that. I don't want to change. So let's say all those things that you are running after, al-hakum, they are distracting you. Those takathur, those desire to get more and more, they are distracting you from actual pondering over yourself and correcting yourself, looking within yourself. Then another thing scholars mention is Quran. Of course, there are people, Al-Quran. Our life is, our speech will be malihatan bi zikrillah, malihatan bil Quran. It should be complete. When we are speaking, it should be Quran. There are some people, they don't want to, like Allah says in Surah Al-Zumar, وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ إِشْمَأَزَّتْ قُلُوبُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. There are some people, when Allah alone is mentioned, they are like, why are we not hearing any nasheed? My friend, pause the Quran and play nasheed. We want to hear nasheed. We don't want to hear anything about Quran. This is not the time for Quran. If in the masjid you can pray Quran, but now we don't need Quran. Back at school, there were people, some friends, if you tell them, okay, I used to have a friend in my house. If you tell him, okay, why not we make time to study Quran together? You see, brother, pause it for now. Maybe after we are done with the university, we can think about that. Allah is saying, actually, that university is actually a distraction. If it's not, if Allah is not in your equation, it's a distraction. It's a distraction. And so you say, okay, maybe during vacations, So vacation time, he will say, okay, I think I'm a little bit busy these days. Unless it's al-hakum al-takathur. Then maybe after the university finish, you say, when I marry, okay, don't worry, when I marry, that time I will have enough time. I can really memorize the Quran, I can really study the Quran and understand what it means. And then, mashallah, my life will change. And I will really understand everything. And I will live a total different life. Then after the marriage, see, you go a little bit of time, give me some small time. Unless it's al-hakum al-takathur. You are running after school, running after certificate, running after graduation, running after marriage. Then in that other, the human being will continue to always be distracted. There's always going to be distraction from all corners within the society. Hatta zurtumul maqabir, like the second ayah saying, until you finally find yourself in the graveyard. By the time you realize we are sending you to the grave, or they are sending us to the grave to bury. Subhanallah. So al-hakum at-takathur. Imam Shawkani commenting, he says that walam yakul an kadha. Imam Allah didn't mention, that's what we have discussed, but he says that bal atlaqahu li anna al-itlaq ablagu fi al-dhamm wa yadkhulu fihi jami'u ma yahtamiluhu al-maqam. So whatever can enter into this faith, of course it will enter into that, meaning it distracts you from anything that could have bring you close to the Quran, anything that could have bring you close to Allah, be it Quran, be it remembrance of Allah, be it Salatul Jama'ah, be it wa'az, going to listen to wa'az, be it whatever, anything that could have bring you to close to Allah. Those things, they kept distracting you from this serious matter that the human being is created for. You know, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. The human being is not created for anything except to worship Allah. So all these things, but we see it as something that is to be, sometimes it's seen as something that is to be done at a leisure time. I only worship Allah, I only remember Allah when I'm in my leisure time. But I have my own busy time. Those times, remembrance of Allah shouldn't interfere with that time. Subhanallah. Allah is saying that's rather distracting you from the remembrance of Allah. It's not the remembrance of Allah which is distracting you from your busy schedules. Your busy schedules, the time you realize that those busy schedules are distractions, is at your death. You realize what have I done with my life? You know, what was I thinking? What deluded me? شغلكم التكاثر عن كل شيء يجب عليكم الاشتغال به من طاعة الله وعمل للآخرة, and working for الآخرة, بمعنى working, making time to do good deeds for yourself. You didn't even have time for that. You were so much concerned about, running after things in life. Whatever you were running after, they deluded you such that you couldn't even have enough time daily. You couldn't even have enough time daily to remember Allah. You can't change your life like that. To change your life, the simplicity is change every day. Every single day, change it. Then everything will change automatically, because the life is being murakkabun ala al-ayyam. It has been, Allah has make it arranged with days. So if you change a single day, of course, you'll be able to change your life. Change a single day, how much you remember Allah. Change every single day, how much you remember Allah. Make time for, make us making time to remember Allah a single day. Looking into the Quran, reciting of the Quran, reciting the Quran every day and pondering over it. Another remembrance of Allah. This is something that when we do it daily and we make sure that it is more of our day, of course our life will change. So al-hakum al-takathur. So those delusions, the desire to get more and competing with one another boastfully, it deludes you. It has deluded you. Al-hakum, it has deluded you. Hatta zurtumul maqabir, until you visit the graveyards. Zara actually means to go visit someone. To go and visit someone, that is Zara. And visiting is actually, when you are visiting someone, what do? You go and then you come back. You don't go and stay there. And so this is an indication that Zara here is an indication that the life of the barzakh is, or the life of the grave is something that is temporal. It's something that is temporal, because the verb is Zara. Allah called them Zairun, but not Mukimin. And then Maqabir is actually the plural of Maqbarah, which means, it's a makan, a place of burying. And so, of course, when you are going to visit someone, of course, it's a place. And so the place of visiting is called Maqabir. Okay, Maqbara is the singular, the plural being Maqabir, meaning it's a makan. And it's nice that Allah used Maqabir here, but He didn't use Qubur. Okay, because it really fits in the position. So it's among the beauty of the Quran. Okay, every word is placed at a point where it's supposed to be placed there. Allah doesn't use Zara for Jannah. Allah didn't say they will go and visit Jannah. No, Allah says they will enter there. Khalidina fiha, they will abide there forever. So Allah says, Hatta zurtumul maqabir. The manner, you will continue to do this. You will continue to compete with one another and desire to get more and more and more and more. Wallah, you can see a 90 years old man and his desires, his ambitions, his goals that he's having will be more than that of a 15-year child. A 90-year-old child, an old man, someone who is very close to his grave. But the ambitions that he has is as if he's a young kid. Why? That's the nature of the human being. So if without the Quran, that's what our perception will be. That's what our life will be. We'll keep on running after things. By the time you realize, of course, you are in the grave. Yeah, so the meaning here is that one of the meaning that we are seeing here is hatta adraktumul mautu wa antum ala tilkal hal, like Imam Shawkani says. Hatta adraktumul maut, until death finally reaches you. You keep on having this. You always at a particular, look at a human being. You always at a particular point in time have goals to fulfill. If you fulfill this one comes. I want to go to some people's main goal is I want to attend the secondary school, young kids. Okay, my main goal is to attend this particular secondary school because all brilliant students are attending that school. Then when he jumps in, what happens? It becomes useless. He now sees it to be, he doesn't really value it. A human being doesn't value what is in his hand. At the time you get it, it feels useless. Then he now says, my goal now is to attend this university. If I complete, I'll attend this university. By the time you realize, okay, you are complete, you are going to the university. Then you say, no, I want to graduate with distinction. That's not my goal. Then you graduate with distinction. You say, I want to marry. Then you are running after a particular woman or a particular man that you think will bring some benefit to you all. Then after you marry that man or that woman, what happens? You now have ambitions. I want to have a car, a very nice home. Subhanallah. It will continue like that. You know, like one of these boys, in rural case, one of these boys, Al-Mutanabbi, he says that An-nafsu ragibatun fa-iza raja'ta ila al-qalil taqna'u. The human soul, it will always want to desire, it will always have desire to get more and more and more and more. But if you should return back to little, if you are content with little, it will be okay with it. But if you leave the soul, if you leave your desire, that will be your life. Your life will be running after this and this, and by the time you realize we are in the grave, may Allah not mix us among them, you know. May Allah, help us. May Allah remove us from this delusion. And that's what the society has just become. The society has just become like people are running, like we compare things, like whose marriage was the best, you know. So even now, people that does that. If someone is coming to marry, he look at in this area or this community, this particular family, look at how they did their marriage. And so our marriage should be more than that. At-Takathur, competition. Look at that house. That child there, he attended this school and then he graduated as the best student. Why can't our child also do the same? At-Takathur. At-Takathur. Look at that house. Very nice house. And the land, you know, sometimes even, a person and his wife. Like if you're not having a righteous wife, sometimes it happens. Look at your friend. He's driving a very nice car. But why you? I don't understand. As for you, I don't understand. What's happening with you? That you also drive the same car. Subhanallah. Takathur. Takathur. And so, that is the first thing that we are seeing. The first the first opinion brought up by Imam Shawkani commenting here. He says that Hatta adraktumul maut wa antum ala tilkal hal, until death reaches you while you are on this stage. And then he says that وقال قتادة, and Qatada says that إن التكاثر التفاخر بالقبائل والأشاعر. We have already looked at it. And then one other thing he says that حتى زرتم المقابر, it can also mean that he says that وكيل أنهم كانوا يزورون المقابر فيقولون هذا قبر فلان وهذا قبر فلان يفتخرون بذلك. they used to, during the time of the olden Arabs, that was, they do it to an extent, they are delusion in competition, in competing with one another. Their delusion in competing with one another, it was to an extent that they will go to the makabir, the graveyards, and then they will say, this grave belongs to us. They see, tribes, different tribes. They will say, we have more. We have honorable people who have died. And look at you, you don't have one, count the graveyards of honorable people of ours and count that of yours. They will even be at the graveyard. The graveyard is a place that is supposed to humble every human being. Wallahi, if you attend the burial of someone, at that point every human being is humbled. You see that this is finally where you are ending, and all that you are running after, you leave it and then you will be entering here. So the place that is supposed to humble every human being. There are some people, like I said, Sheikh is quoting here, they used to even be at the graveyard and they will still be competing. And today you even see it in us. Go to the graveyard. Sometimes you will go and then you will see some designs. And then people come and say, look at this design. They have molded the cover, the graveyard, very nicely. Our own should be more nicer than that. Is that not the same thing that those people, olden Quraysh before Jahiliyyah, the people of Jahiliyyah, what they were doing? A similar thing. A similar thing. If you go to the group, you just go to the graveyard and then you take your time and look. You see a child 5 years. He died at, from 2000 to 2005. This one died from 1991 to so. He lived for 18 years. This one living for 25 years. This one living for 30 years. This one living for 30 years. This one living for 35 years. This one living for 2 months. This one living for 6 months. Subhanallah. And you look at one, he's at your age mate. He died at the same age as me. Subhanallah. At that point, the human being is humbled. You know that everything, is really in the hands of what? At that time, there's nothing that can help you at that time. When we find out, we are taken to the graveyard. The only thing that can help us is the good things that we used to do. And Allah said that we are running from doing those good deeds. Things are distracting us from doing good deeds, from remembrance of Allah, which will have benefit to us in our real future. That's where our future is. Where we are, as we are now, is just for a few years. It's just a matter of time. We understand that, we will come to understand that something has really deluded us. So, hatta zurtumul maqabir. And that is the two opinions. Kalla sawfa ta'lamun. No, not at all. Allah is telling the human being. Allah is telling me and you. The delusion, it won't last for long. And then we'll wake up to reality. Kalla, no. What you are competing in and you are thinking is a source of security and a source of enjoyment. Allah is saying very soon you shall come to know. You shall come to know. You shall come to know how deluded you are, how deluded you have been. Ali radiallahu anhu, he look at this verse and then he sees that an-nasu niyam. Human beings are sleeping. And the only time that they wake up is at the time of death. At the time of death, the human being realizes that, what have I done with my life? Subhanallah. And at that time, regret has no benefit. That's the time the human being will realize that, what have I done with my life? What was I chasing in life? I was running after this, running after that, running after that. And all that thing, the human being will realize that all those things, they were delusions. Those things he has gathered, he sees it to be totally useless. And then the human being will realize, what did I do with my life? As if he was dreaming, and then he just wake up. In that time, the death is already, the Malakul Maut is already there. There's no excuse. وَلَمْ يُؤَخِّرْ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهَا وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ. Allah will never, delay you for 1 second, even a second. At that time, the regret has no benefit. So, كَلَّا سَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. Imam al-Shawkani comments, he says that رَدْعٌ وَزَجْرٌ لَهُمْ عَنِ التَّكَاثُرِ وَالتَّنْبِيهِ عَلَى أَنَّهُمْ سَيَعْلَمُونَ عَاقِبَةَ ذَلِكَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ وَفِيهِ وَعِيدٌ شَدِيد. He's commenting that At-Takathur, Radu'un, bimana Allah is calling them. Zajirun, Allah is calling them and yelling at them. Bimana, Kella, bimana, what is deluding you? No, not at all. Bimana, it's not real. It's a delusion. So, fatalamun, and you shall come to know in a matter of time. That's what Imam is saying. And then he says that وَفِيهِ وَعِيدٌ شَدِيدٌ, and in it, بمعنى that is a very severe one. قال الفراء says that ليس الأمر على ما أنتم عليه من التكاثر والتفاخر. The real matter is not what you are competing in. That's not the reality. The reality of this life is not what you are competing in, accumulating wealth and competing with one another in positions and whatever. That's not the reality of this life. It's all a delusion. It's all a delusion. If you can't understand it, you will soon understand. There are some people, people would think that this person, no matter what, he cannot change again. He has been, immersed in delusion such that he thinks that that's just this life. There are those kind of people, like atheists and people who think that religion is just for fools. Religion is for people who are not intellectual, and they think that they are very, knowledgeable. They are very intellectual to a point they understand there's no religion, there's no Allah. They are the worst people. Subhanallah. The time they will realize is just at the time of death. Subhanallah. And they will remember those people they were making mockery of. So that's what Farah is saying here. Then Allah repeats it again. Summa kalla sawfa ta'lamun. This summa here is for emphasis. And then Allah repeats the same statement. Summa kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Of course, what this does is that, of course, repetition, it adds to the state of agency and even the style of warning. Sometimes you repeat it. Didn't I warn you? Didn't I warn you? Is that what you are doing? Is that what you are doing? Of course, when you do that, it expresses how urgent and serious you are to the person. And so that's the nature of similar thing that we are seeing here. Thumma kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Of course, then you will come to know again. Allah says you shall come to know. All these people who think, you see them and you think, these people, there's no way they can learn. There's no way they can come back to reality. There's no way they can come back to their right senses. Allah is saying very soon they shall come to know. At the time of death, when the angel appears, that time they will wake up from that deep sleep where they think that they are dreaming, and then they are having an illusion, a life of illusion, and people of religion are fools in their dream. When the angels stand in front of them, they will wake up and they will remember what they were competing in and that which was distracting them from the remembrance of Allah. That is what Sheikh is saying here. So summa kalla sawfa ta'lamun, and of course at that time we shall come to know again. And then there's a comment here. Shawkani is commenting. He says that the summa here lidalalati ala anna thaniya ablaghu min al-awwal. Of course, the second is more severe than the first one. It's more severe than the first one. وَكِيلَ أَوَّلُ إِنَّ الْمَوْتِ أَوْ فِي الْقَبْرِ وَالثَّانِي يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Then it says that the first one, when the human being comes to realize, is at the point of death. This first is referring to the point of death, when the covering is removed from the eyes. And that time the person, the human being really sees reality and knows that he was joking. Subhanallah, you know that you are joking in this life. And then this commentary says that the first one is for the qabr, at the time of death or even in the qabr. Then the second one, summa kalla sawfa ta'lamun. That one, it says that the yawm al-qiyamah, bimana wasani yawm al-qiyamah, is referring to judgment day. And of course, Sheikh Usaymin also have this view that the human being wake up twice. You realize that he will realize at the time of death. Then the second realization is yawm al-qiyamah, when people will have to stand when people are raised from the kubur, from the graveyards. At that time the human being will realize again. At that time, of course, there will be no guitar, there will be no covering. Everything is now real. What they used to lie against, they used to say, what do you mean by qiyamah? Look at these fools. They are praying 5 times daily. They are doing this. What do you mean by qiyamah? There's nothing to qiyamah. If we should die and our bones would decay, all these things, how can we be resurrected again? So finally, when they see it, Allah says they will come to know. It's just a matter of time. Judgment day shall come at the time of death and on judgment day. And guess what? What will the kafir say? Ya laytani kuntu turaba. Subhanallah. Man, I wish I was dead. Someone in this world, if you used to tell them about, making time for the Quran, making time for the remembrance of Allah, say I'm so much busy. I have a lot of things to worry about. I have to work 24/7 to gain a lot of wealth to accomplish my missions. Allah is saying all those missions, they are bogus. On the day of judgment, when you finally start, see the reality, and that time you say, Ya laitani kuntu turaba. I wish I was just dead. That time, those things you used to think in this world, they were things, matters that were bothering you, and then you think you don't have time for the remembrance of Allah. Allah says on that day, you think that the seriousnity of the matter will make you even wish that you just be dust. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. This is what is going to happen. But this is what is ahead of us. Everybody, no matter who you are a kafir, you are a believer. Of course, believers, as we are, our yakin is into different categories. It's not all of us who have the same yakin. Who have the same yakin. That's why there's a narration that at the end of at the time of death, there's no single one who will not regret. Because you see the reality and you know what was running after. And at that time you realize what is really happening. The purpose of this life, what has it been? What happens is that this repetition, it was supposed to make the statement agent, and they put it in a style of warning. Okay, you will come to know, you will soon come to know. Allah is telling us there's wa'idun shadid, a very severe warning for all of us. But it is best experienced when it is recited in Salat. You know, that's the nature of the Quran. The Quran is experienced and recitation. And so if you look at the Prophet, used to recite it, Yatlu alayhim, he used to recite it on them. It was not written and then read. Of course, when that is done, part of the beauty of the Quran is reduced. You know, the spirituality of it is reduced just on paper, if it's just on paper. But it is really experienced when it is recited and it is heard. You know, because that's the nature of the kuffar, even the disbelievers. It wasn't written and given to them. No, it was recited. And when they hear it, sometimes you look at Surah At-Najm, sometimes they are forced to do so, even though they are disbelievers. So that's the power of the Quran. So some things here, we cannot really appreciate it. We appreciate it when it is recited. So it is supposed to be done. It's very nice that the Qari take his time to recite this thing very well. Take and recite it very nicely. And it will go deep into the heart. Because it's a wa'idun shadid, it's a very severe warning that Allah is warning us against what we are competing in. And Allah says, كَلَّا لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ إِلْمَ الْيَقِينِ. No, not at all. Had you, if only you had. So this now here is a kalimatul hasr. It's used to express regret. So Allah is expressing his regret for these people if only they had the knowledge of certainty. If only they had the knowledge. What is ilmul yakin here? Let's look at it. Of course, there are different categories of yakin. There are 3 stages of yakin. Yakin actually means certainty, to have conviction in something. Okay, so the example we see in the Quran is death. Death is yakin. Allah referred to be yakin. وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكِ حَتَّى يَأْتِيكَ الْيَقِينَ, and worship your master until death come to you. So yakin in itself is being used for death. Okay, death is used as an example of yakin. Yakin means something very, very convicted. You have full conviction in it. You don't even doubt it. That is yakin. Okay, there's no one in his right sense who believes that he will not die. Okay, if you are in your right sense, even a kafir may just believe in hereafter. But every kafir knows that he will die. That's why Allah uses yakin for death. So that's an example of yakin. Yakin means certainty. So there are 3 stages of yakin. One, we have actual ilmul yakin. Then we have ainul yakin. Okay, ilmul yakin, the knowledge of certainty. Okay, the knowledge of certainty. Then we have ainul yakin. And the ainul yakin is the eye of certainty, of course. And then we have haqqul yakin. Haqqul yakin. So ilmul yakin is actually, I'll explain it with an example. Let's say as we are sitting in this class like this, let's say there's a fire here, or there's a smoke coming up from the building, a particular building, there's a smoke coming from it. And then you are able to use your knowledge, that's ilm, your knowledge. With your knowledge, you will be able to derive that. Of course, since there is smoke coming, meaning there should be fire. So you have come to the conclusion that there is a fire there. Because if there is smoke, meaning there must have been fire. And so that is ilmul yakin. You derive something from a particular something. You don't see it, you don't get to see it, but you derive it based on something. That is ilmul yakin. But let's say you go close to the building, maybe you even enter, and you see the fire itself with your eyes. That is ainul yakin. We even say it will come in this, the last ayah has it. Okay, the second last ayah, ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. So عَيْنُ الْيَقِين means you see it and you believe. You have conviction in it. You are convicted based on what you saw. So that is عَيْنُ الْيَقِين. Then the last one is حَقُّ الْيَقِين, which means that, let's say if you saw it, but you still have doubts. Let's say you doubt that perhaps it may be a delusion. It's not real. It's not real. Then you go close to it and put your hand in it. You touch it, and then it hurt you. And at that time, you now have full conviction. You now know that it's not. It's not a flicker fire. It's not something that is not real. Okay, it's not a trick. It's a real fire. So at that time, it is haqqul yaqeen. So these are the 3 stages of yaqeen. Ilmul yaqeen, you come to conclusion based on driving from something that happened. Or let's say you come out and then at the daytime and then all the place is wet. Then you say, of course, you think that maybe at the time I was sleeping, it must have been rain. It must have been rain. It was raining. And so you think that you come to the conclusion that it rained while I was asleep. So that is ilmul yaqeen. You drive based on something that happened or something you saw. But ainul yaqeen, you see it yourself. But haqqul yaqeen, you even see it, but you go near and then you have a feeling of it. And then you come to the full conviction. That's haqqul yaqeen. And so Allah is saying here that these people, kalla, they wouldn't have done that. This takathur, it won't be part of our life. لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ إِلْمَ الْيَقِينِ. If only they knew the knowledge of certainty. And what's the knowledge of certainty here is referring to revelation, Al-Quran, وَغَيْرِهَا, the Quran, the Ahadith, or revelation that came from Allah. That's the ilmul yaqeen. So Allah is saying that if we were to have it, or if we were to know it, kalla, we wouldn't have, no, not at all. This takathur, we wouldn't have been doing it. We wouldn't have time for all these worldly competitions. That wouldn't have been part of our life. Subhanallah. Imam Razi, he comments by saying that قال أخفش says that لو تعلمون علم اليقين ما ألهاكم التكاثر. If you had ilm al-yaqeen, the knowledge of conviction in the manner from the Quran, that's the nature of the Quran. The Quran is supposed to train every single human being and give you a particular knowledge that with it you will be able to drive. So if you look at it, let's compare it to this world. This world like this, of course, Allah doesn't show himself. If Allah should show himself, that is ilm al-yaqeen. But ilm al-yaqeen, Allah wants us to look at the universe. Who created the universe? Look at the universe. And look at the Quran, a very powerful and a very magnificent, a very subtle book. It cannot be written by a human being. Aside, look at the stars, look at the sun, look at the moon, all these things. Can it be there without a creator? So that is ilm al-yaqeen. Allah wants us to use the ilm al-yaqeen to drive from these things. Of course, if these things are there, meaning that there must have been a creator. There must have been a creator. Look at here, it's useless. It's very bogus to think that if I tell you that this techno phone that is in front of me, if I tell you that it just came into being, one day I just slept and wake up and then the phone was in my room. It just came and assembled itself, and then it is like that in my room. The camera came and joined with the battery and all these things, they come together, and then I just wake up and I saw it in my room. What will you say? You tell me that I'm mad? Yes. You tell me I'm mad? Do you believe that there is a creator to the phone? Everybody believes. Even though, do you know the creator, the one who manufactured your phone? No. But do you believe that there is a manufacturer? Yes. Every single one using a phone will say there is a manufacturer, even though you have never seen him. Why? A mobile phone cannot come out of nowhere. But look at the mobile phone and compare it to the human being. Look at the eyes of the human being. Can the mobile phone eyes, the camera be compared to the eyes of the human being? The human being's eyes is more advanced. You can look from all directions. You don't go to no battery. Compare the human being, and that's just small. That's just a human being. When you get sick, you can heal yourself. Get a cut, your body will be able to heal itself. So look at this. Nice creation, and you think that just came from nowhere. But how won't you be mad? And so Allah, where is the test? If Allah should have shown himself, Allah wants to test us to see how we will believe, and so He gave us ilmul yaqeen. He will show you certain things. If Allah had wanted, you wouldn't have seen the skies, the moon, the stars, all these things. It wouldn't have been there. No Quran. But let me put them there so that everyone who is wise will look at it and then you worship the one who created it. يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. You believe even without seeing the creation. But the disbelievers, the problem they have is that they say, we won't believe until we see. But Allah is saying it's only animal that sees before reacting. If a fire is coming from this building, if this building is on fire and we see smoke, if this building is on fire and we can see only smoke, what do we do? Everybody will run. But an animal will not run. And a goat or a sheep here, it won't run until it sees the fire. The smoke is not enough to tell it that the building is in danger, there is fire coming. But Allah says you are a human being. Allah give you the akal. Allah give us the akal, the mind. Unlike the animal who doesn't have a mind. And so Allah expects that we should be higher than the animals. We shouldn't want to see Allah before believing. Of course, we should use the ilm, the akal, the mind that Allah has given us in connection to what we are seeing around us. And see, oh, okay, the universe there must have been a creator. The one who brought this book, he must have been a messenger. And I have to fulfill what is what he has demanded me to do. So ilm yakin, the revelation. And he says that the second one, he says that call Abu Muslim. Abu Muslim says that لو علمتم ماذا يجب عليكم لتمسكتم به أو لو علمتم لأي أمر خلقتم لشغلتم به. If we had known, with the knowledge of revelation, ilm al-yakin, لتمسكتم, would have hold fast onto it. Every bab, every door of good deeds would have hold fast onto it. Nowadays people who are very, of course there are very few people, we have seen in Surah At-Takathur, people who are going to be living at Takathur, competing in this world and being concentrated on preparing for the hereafter. They are going to be very few. Of course they are going to be very few. The illa there, Allah says inna alladhina amanu, except a very few people. A lot of people are in al-insana fi khusr. Lots of people are doomed. They are on this earth. They don't know the reason why they are here. That's what Allah is telling us. Most of us, we are here. We don't know the reason why we are here. And so only a few people. And so Sheikh is saying here that if we had the knowledge of revelation, we would have hold fast onto what Allah has asked us to do, such that it will help us in preparation for meeting Him. That's what another comment that Imam Razi has brought up. Then the third comment that he made is that he says that أنه حذف الجواب ليذهب الوهم كل مذهب فيكون التهويل أعظم. He says that Allah removed it. If only they had the knowledge of revelation, what? Someone may ask that. So Allah just leave it open. Sometimes you tell that to a student, the student will forget whatever bad he's doing. Of course, he may be doing two bad things, but if you come and mention one, he may still be doing the other. And so Allah leave it open. We have seen this for umum, to make it general. So if you come and tell the student, do you know what you are doing? Do you know what you are doing? So the student will be scared, and then he will leave every bad thing he is doing, even though he may be thinking that he don't know what the one you are specific about. I don't know whether you get me. So he had the whole of fear. Everything that is possible can enter into that context. That is what Sheikh is seeing here. It's very beautiful that Allah left it open. If only they had the knowledge of revelation, and then it is left like that. But the more opinion that is inclined towards is the fact that they would have not been engaging in this Takathur competition for worldly matters. They would have left people who are competing for worldly matters, and then they would have focused on the ibadat of Allah. SubhanAllah. Then Allah says that لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ, for sure you will see al-Jahim, the hellfire. Jahim is one of the names of hellfire. As Allah says that لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ, you will definitely see the hellfire. See here, this lam here, of course, is for tawqid. But what most of the scholars argue that there is a qasam that is mahzuf. There is a qasam that has been omitted, meaning wallahi, or whatever qasam it could be. Okay, this is so. Allah has sworn, but it has been removed. It has been omitted here. So Allah swore, and then He says that la tarawunna al-jahim. I swear, you would have seen. You will see the hellfire. You will come to see the hellfire. This ayah is a tawil. It's frightening statement that Allah has put here. And then the Jawab al-Qasam is going to be Tarawun al-Jahim. And this lam is Tawqid. Okay, it's Tawqid for emphasis. And so, some scholars argue that this is referring to everybody, every single person, because it is umum, it's general. So even, being a believer or being a disbeliever, you get to see the hellfire. You get to, and that's their references coming back to what we saw in Surah Maryam. Okay, wa in minkum illa wariduha, and there's no among you any single person except that you pass by it. He will be at the edge of it. Even the believer will have to pass by the hellfire before he enter Jannah. Why? To just understand, to see, appreciate what he has escaped, to appreciate the favor of Allah. The man escaping the hellfire is more achievement, so that the believer will appreciate it. He will just appreciate what he has escaped. It's one thing to just go to Jannah straightforward. It's another thing to stand by hellfire and see and be frightened. It's like sometimes the teacher, he cane people, you think he's coming to cane you, and then he just look at you and say, okay, go. Then you appreciate, you're seeing how he lash other students. Of course, you thank the teacher. But if you just escape normally, we wouldn't have seen how severe that punishment was. The punishment you escape. The hellfire is such that the Prophet says that يُؤْتَى بِجَهَنَّمَ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَهَا سَبْعُونَ أَلْفَ ذِمَامٍ. It's going to be brought on Judgment Day with 70,000 rays. Like chains, 70,000. مَعَ كُلِّ ذِمَامٍ سَبْعُونَ أَلْفَ مَلَكٍ. There's going to be 70,000 angels on each single rain. The hellfire is going to be dragged, brought by angels. 70,000 rays or chains. On each single chain, there's going to be 70,000 angels. Subhanallah. That's the nature of the hellfire. It's a very big, dar. It's a very big abode. Very big and magnificent abode for wrongdoers. Allahumma zahzihna ajma'ina anin nar. May Allah, protect us against hellfire. So that's the nature of the hellfire. Allah saying that لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ. We definitely will surely see hellfire. Allah says that summa لَتَرَوُنَّهَا أَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. Then this summa here, it means then. At that point, then and there. Okay, it's actually tartib al-ikhbar. It's not to mean that afterwards. Okay, it means then at that time. After seeing the hellfire at that time, لَتَرَوُنَّهَا أَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. You see it with this eye of certainty. You see, in this world, there's this believer. What does he say? If you tell him it's a sama or shakat, when Allah talk about when the heavens means split open, and then when the kawakibun tatharat, and then you see the stars fallen, when the oceans are boiling, when the content of the grief is scattered, all these things, when the disbelievers hear, they make mockery of it. They say we won't believe until we see it. I just want to see the hellfire. You are saying there's hellfire. Bring it and let me see so that I'll believe. Fatima, bring it and let me see. If you are telling the truth, why not we see it? Allah says, when you see that the hellfire at that time, you see it with that eye of certainty that you used to request in the hereafter. When you were in dunya. In this dunya, that's what the kuffar are saying. We want to see. Bring Allah, bring the hellfire so that we'll see and then we'll believe. Allah says, at that time you see it. But at that time, your regret has no benefit. The time you see it is the time you will be entering. Then Allah says, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Then you will definitely be asked thoroughly, especially on that day, about the pleasures and in na'im, about the pleasures that you have, that you used to have, that you used to enjoy. So thumma here, of course, zamaniya, then even after that, latus'alunna. Here there are several tawqid. You can see a lot of tawqid here. One, you can see the lam here is for tawqid. Of course, the summa is also for tawqid. Then the noon here, okay, the noon here is also for tawqid. So definitely, surely on that day, you will be asked about the pleasures. You see how Allah is telling us those pleasures that Allah granted us, and it was just pleasures. Mata, it means to do things. It means to worship Allah. One time, one of the scholars, he was going around the Bedouin communities, and so he was gathering how the Bedouins, they understand the Quran. So he will go to these communities. They are very rich in the Arabic language. He will go to the villages because they know the language. A language in a particular community is going to the older people, those who are in the villages. They know the language very well. And so this scholar, that was what he was doing. He go to the communities, village communities, the Bedouin community. Then he gather how they use the the words of the Quran. Because the time of the Arabs, the Quran was revealed to them. And so they will, and Allah will use words that they understand it in their context. Allah will use words that they will understand in their context very well. So he want to understand it so that it will aid him in explaining the Quran. So he did that. And then he was looking for mata. He was just sitting at the, he just reached the brink of a sea. He saw a small girl washing with a brush. And so a dog came and took the brush from the hand of the small girl. Then the small girl started crying. They say that akhaza mata'i. The dog has taken my mata, my tool. So he understood mata to be tool. He understood mata to be tool. Mata is just a tool. So Allah says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. It's just a tool. So anything we have in this world is a tool. And what does a tool does? A tool is supposed to help you to do a work. It's supposed to help you to do a work. No one will get deluded by the tool and forget about the job. Let's say you are given a very nice package of, chicken with a very nice fork to eat the chicken. Then you are opening the parcel and then you see the spoon and you say the spoon is so much beautiful. Then you forget about the chicken. How do we call you? We call that such person an insane person. And so that's what Allah is saying. This world is just like a tool. Wallahi, if you have a very nice position, you are a manager, you are a medical doctor, you are an engineer, you are a what. Allah says a tool. Mata is a tool. But what does a tool do? What does a tool does? It does work. Meaning you are supposed to use it to earn your akhirah. Wallahi, that's just it. Any other thing aside that is a distraction, it's a mata, it's a takathur, it's a distraction. That's what we are learning in this surah. That's what we are learning in this surah. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. May Allah make that anything that we are running after, may it be solely for the sake of Islam. That is it. May Allah not make us chase something that won't have any benefit for us in the akhirah. And so that's what Allah is saying here. We will ask about the na'im, the pleasures that we used to enjoy in this world. Scholars have differed in, talking about this ayah. Some says that this is referring to the kafir. But only the kafir are only those who are going to be asked. This accent, it is referring to the kafir, the disbelievers. Okay, and so you see people like Al-Hassan, he says that لا يسأل عن النعيم إلا أهل النار. Except to people of the hellfire, they are only those who are going to be asked. But that is a weak opinion. That's a weak opinion. Okay, most of the scholars, if you look at the Jumhur, most of the scholars, they have the view this referring to everybody. So called Qatada says that Inna Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sa'ilun kulla zi ni'matin amma an'ama alayhi. Allah will ask everyone who possesses a ni'mah. Allah will ask him on Judgment Day about the ni'mah. Were he grateful for it? And shukr. How he was grateful for it. Was it a means to take pride? Or was it a means to bring him close to Allah? Allah will ask everybody. Whatever you are having in this world, position, whatever, Allah will ask you, what was it? What did it do to you? Why did you earn it? And what was its effect on your life? Was it a means to take you away from the remembrance of Allah? Was it a means to bring you close to Allah? Then he says that وَهَذَا هُوَ الظَّاهِرُ. That's the correct opinion. We have even seen that in the hadith of the Prophet. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with Umar and then Abu Bakr, they were both hungry. And so they went to the garden of one of these Sahaba, Abu Haytham ibn Tayhan, this particular Sahaba. They went to his house, the garden of his house, and then actually the Prophet knocked on his door. And his wife was at the back of the door. And then he didn't reply. The Prophet did salamu alaikum, no reply. Salamu alaikum, no reply. Salamu alaikum the third time, no reply. And so the Prophet, of course, if you like the sunnah of the Prophet, if you do salam 3 times and you don't hear any response, what do? You turn away. And so the Prophet and then Abu Bakr and Umar, may Allah have mercy on them, they turn away. And so the Sahaba, the wife of the Sahaba, she now came out. And so she said she actually heard the salam, just that she wanted the salam of the Prophet to come to their house several times. The Prophet was praying for them. Salaam alaikum is a prayer, may peace be upon you. So she said she wanted the Prophet to add more salam. That was why she kept quiet. And so definitely they asked her about her husband, and she said he has went to bring water. And it didn't take long, and then the husband was there. He was there, he came, and when he came, he was very happy. He said, I'm the best of those who have guests today, because think about the Prophet himself, Abu Bakr and Umar. These are great people, in addition to the Prophet, the greatest of people. And so he said, today I'm the best of those who have guests. And so he was very happy, the Prophet, and then Abu Bakr and Umar was there. He went and then he brought date. Okay, he had a garden, so he cut a branch of date and then he brought it to them. And it had a lot ripe and mixed. And so he brought it, and then the Prophet, and then they ate some. And then afterwards they asked for water, and then he brought water. The Prophet, Umar and Abu Bakr, they took the water. Afterwards the Prophet told Umar and Abu Bakr, Ma'un tayyib wa ta'amun tayyib wa dhillun tayyib la tus'alunna yawma izin anin na'im. That date and that water and that shade that you just sat under and took the date and the water, very nice ones. That was haluna yawma izin anin na'im. Will be asked that day about this pleasure. You see it to be something normal. They need something to eat, and that small thing they get, and the Prophet told them they will be asked on Judgment Day about it. Subhanallah. So that's what we need to know. That's the nature of wealth. Wealth in itself is not evil. It is evil when when we see it to be our ultimate goal, when it becomes our goal. What we are running after, education, gathering certificates. It is evil when Allah is not in your equation, and it's now become your biggest achievement. And this is not just coming from it's not something to be said. You can just say, okay, Jannah is my ultimate goal. You can say it from your mouth, but that's not really what it is. Your actions will show. If you are running after things and you say Jannah is your goal, then that's not, what you are saying is not actually what is in your heart. So the problem, as I said, the wealth in itself is not evil, but how we view it and how we obtain it, and how much effect that is has on the time that we get to remember Allah. That's where the problem lies. The Prophet told someone, a particular Sahaba, he was part of those who were granted Jannah. The Prophet told him, beware, watch out. You are granted Jannah. You have been granted Jannah, even though you are on this earth. But you will be the last people to enter Jannah. You will be among the last people to enter Jannah. Why? Because he was very wealthy. He was a wealthy person. So the Prophet told him, watch out. You will be last. People who enter Jannah, you will be way, way, way back. Because you had a lot to answer. To whom much is given, of course you will be asked more. So every single, if you have a little, you will be asked about those little. But if you have a lot, of course, similar thing, you will be asked about all those, that lot that you have. Allah asks you where you got it from, how you got it, and what did you do with it, and what was the effect on your life. Did it brought you close to Allah? Was it something that you were taking pride in, and then you spend your life running after those things? Subhanallah. And so that is what we are learning here. People are going to be asked about peace, wasiha, and even health. The health that we have every day and then we don't appreciate, we'll be asked about it. Wakila an siha wal farag, health and leisure time. The leisure time we have, all those things will be asked, and ask us how we use our leisure times. Wakila an idrak bil hawas, and then he said it is also said that it will be about idrak, bimana, perceiving senses. Let's say someone speak, you are able to hear, you are able to see the senses. Able to your senses being able to work. All these things we are going to be. It's just casual. It's all something just passing. You look at it casual. It's a ni'mah. It's a blessing. Unless it's all these things is going to be part. You see the scholars that what they are mentioning is very, very deep. They even go bottom to say that wakila and manlazil ma'kul wal mashrub, the beautiful or the delicious food and drinks that we take, all these things is part of the ni'mah that we are going to be asked about. Wakila anil ghadha wal asha. And he also said that it's the lunch and then the dinner. You just take lunch and dinner if you think it's nothing. I mean, Sheikh is seeing here that all the things, they are part of what we are going to be asked about. SubhanAllah. And he says that wakila anil i'tidal, wakila an barid al-sharab wa dhilal al-mathakin. An barid al-sharab, the nice, the cold drink. Okay, the cold drink, maybe cold water, you just take a cold water and you think it's nothing. We will ask about it. Was dhilal al-masakin, and then the shade. Just have a shade, it's very hot, you see a shade and then you sit under it. It's a ni'mah. We are going to be asked about it. Wakila anil i'tidal al-khulq, the balance of the creation. You want to have balance a human being is, we're going to be asked about it. Wakila an ladhati an-nawm, the sweetness of sleep. You just come and lie down when you sleep and then you have a pleasure from it. Subhanallah. All these things, they are pleasure, that we are going to be asked about it. Wala awla umumu kama dhakarna. This is the end of Sheikh comment. And so with that, we wrap up the surah and then we complete. Of course, Allah is, this brings us very generously. We have to, may Allah make us among those who are always in His remembrance. And the key is, the intelligent one, the wise one is someone whose life is spent all in the remembrance of Allah. Every part of his life is spent in the remembrance of Allah. You know, that is al-kayyis, the wise person. The wise person is the one, anything we are going to do, we should do it solely for the sake of Allah. May Allah help us in this regard. With this, we come to the end of the study of Surah At-Takathur. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم من آياته والذكر الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, in the next session, we will look at the study of Surah Al-Asr, right? Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.